everyone, and welcome back to my studio. First off, I should apologize for the lateness of this one. I know it should have come out on the 15th, but there was just a lot of stuff going on. As you can see, I actually started the line work for this one at an art show, which was really cool. It kind of kept me busy during the downtime and kept me from being super awkward with people. And here's the result of the line work for this piece. Now, you know my preference is towards watercolor, but I just could not get my head wrapped around it for this one. I think since this is like a full-size board, I was stretching the watercolor too far. I ended up running out of two colors, so I have to go and get some tubes later. But every step I made, I hated. So I was like, okay, you know what? Most people use acrylic on boards, so let's try acrylic. And I was nervous throughout the entire process. So if you're watching this for tips on acrylic, yeah, find somebody else. I'm not super confident about my acrylic. I think the end result is fine, but there's probably a much more efficient way to use it. As a matter of fact, there's an artist here on YouTube, which is where I started my YouTube education. Her name is Leilani Joy, and she does a series called Paint Along, where she shows you some awesome, tips and tricks for using acrylic and how not to go insane. So I was watching a lot of that while I was doing this piece, just to keep myself from freaking out. Now, I think the reason why I was so stressed for this one is because I only had the one board this size, so it's not like I could start over on a fresh one. I remember getting a pack of art decks back in November or something, and I sanded them all thinking, okay, I'll get them all sanded and then I'll just paint them at my leisure. But I think that the wood closed up again or something, because as I was laying down the watercolor, I couldn't get it to actually adhere to the wood. It was just sliding all over the surface. The other big issue that I was having is my work is pretty line art heavy, and with the acrylic you can't see the line art, so every time I would put down more layers of acrylic, I would lose the line art and I can't see what I'm doing. And after waiting for it to dry, I'd reapply the Micron pen, but then it would smear away. So it was very stressful for literally no reason, because I could still put it all back in there. I was just, I don't know, it wasn't what I was used to, so I was kind of freaking out a bit. I found out that if I did some kind of intermittent layers of clear coat, that I was more confident about moving on. So that was me just putting on the clear coat. I also didn't take the steps that I normally would before putting in the line work to refine the piece, so there were parts that I wanted to adjust, and the acrylic actually helped out with that. The goddess Aphrodite actually has a lot of symbols that are representative of her. One of them is that golden girdle that she wears, because she is the goddess of love. There's also roses, the planet Venus, and the symbol for femininity. Since she was born in the sea, there's various aquatic water-themed symbols that correlate as well. I'm actually planning on doing a few other boards. I'm yet to decide whether they'll be acrylic or watercolor, but there'll be some other symbols that represent her as well. So a little bit about the mythology of Aphrodite. The theory is that she was born from the white foam of the sea after Cronus severed one of his father's testicles and threw it into the ocean. And that is where she is born of, and that's the reason why she has all of these water themed symbols that represent her as well. It's also why I gave her the kind of mermaid hair that goes from kind of blonde into an ocean blue. that by this point I was finally comfortable, or at least getting comfortable with the medium that I was working with. I smartened up and got myself a Sharpie marker instead of Micron pens to finish off the line work, so that I wouldn't keep smearing it every time I went over something. It was kind of hard. I'm guessing there's a bit of alcohol in Sharpie markers, so I'm not sure if the marker was wearing down the paint or the paint was wearing down the marker, but I had to stop in between a few times to like let the marker nib refill with ink. But it went alright. I'm really happy with the nice like dark lines that I was able to accomplish. I was a little worried that they were too dark at first, but when you like step back and look at the board from a distance, it really has an awesome effect. Here I'm just adding in a better thought out version of her rose symbol on the golden girdle. As I said, the acrylic actually helped me out where if I had thought more, I would have planned out a better detailed rose, and since I had a new flat surface to work with, I was able to do that. Now this is another example of kind of making use of what I had. Since I wasn't really prepared to be working with acrylic, trying to use like my metallic inks that I had, and it wouldn't stick to the surface. So luckily I bought a while back some acrylic blending medium with intentions of trying it on something completely random, but I just mixed it with the ink so that way it would be kind of like its own metallic acrylic. I also used it on the little gem on her necklace that was meant to represent Venus. I wanted to kind of create some texture. I've seen people use heavy body acrylics to do something similar, but I couldn't get the paint to spread the way that I want. So I added the blending medium to make it more pliable, I guess. Once all the hard parts and experimenting was done, all that was left was the little details, like her gold chain and pearls, that I had to add in, do a little bit more line work, and this piece was just about done. I decided here that I wanted to add in a little bit more details to her gemstone necklace, just to make it look more like the planet Venus, and I really love the way it turned out. And then lastly was the tattoos for her face, a little seashell, starfish, and some pearls. So this is the end result of my acrylic Aphrodite deck. I love the way she turned out. I'm really proud of myself for not completely freaking out and just giving up on this piece. I actually think that the little Venus pendant that I gave her accidentally looks a lot like a fire agate stone. If any of you out there are gemstone lovers, I'd love to get your opinion on that. I also added in some iridescence in her pearls, so she's got little coin pearls on her neck. And yeah, I really love how it turned out. This was the other art show that I ended up doing, which is why it was late. The show was on the 16th, so I was prepping for that. But I met some awesome art collectors and we had so much fun. And I really truly appreciate you guys sticking around. I know this video was a little longer than usual, but I hope you enjoyed the piece. As usual, thank you so much for watching, and I will see you all in the next one. Probably going to be working on some smaller ones for the next couple of videos. But thanks again. Bye!